We are the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah. Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam. Every difficulty faced in our life makes us realize that it's just part of Allah's plan. Feeling stronger, we take it in our stride.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome. Welcome to Dr. Steph Carey's, as some of you might know me, Abu Yasser. I'm the author of the book, The Forgotten Ottoman Heritage, which some of you might have seen already, the editor-in-chief of ilmonlinemag.com, and a lecturer at several universities and educational institutes throughout Europe and Africa. I would like to welcome you to an exciting, to a different, to a unique type of journey. A journey through history. A journey through our history, through the Islamic history. An important part of world history, not only for us Muslims, but it's a journey which many people, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, if they take this journey, they're excited about it. They're amazed about what they found out. And the same journey I started 21 years ago. The time when I accepted Islam, the time when I wanted to find out what is this all about? What is this Islam all about? What are these Muslims? What are they all about? Who are these Muslims? What kind of group are they? What do they represent in this world? And myself, when I started 20 years ago, this amazing journey, I was very surprised, as many even nowadays are when they start opening a book for the first time in their lives about the Islamic history, about a simple part of it, like an important but simple one, 700 years of Islamic history in Al-Andalus, Andalusia, in Spain and in Portugal, and the Iberian Peninsula. It's an amazing journey, as I said before already, and I would like you to participate, and I would like you to take a look at this and be proud of being a Muslim. This is something that we need, actually. We need to know history much better than our previous generations and teach them to our children. Now, before we move actually on, I would like to, first of all, define some of the important, some of the key words that we're going to speak about. They are so important that many of you might even wonder later, if I mention something like minority, something like ethnicity, you might wonder, what is this exactly? So in order to not wonder about it, I would like to start with this. I would like, in this introduction, to define certain key words and make you realize what we're going to talk about, inshallah. Now, first of all, I'm going to mention the definition or the word ethnic group. What exactly is an ethnic group? According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, it is a social group which actually is bound together by common ties of race, language, nationality, or creed. Now, this is the definition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I would like to stick to this because it is quite an important definition and quite important to refer to authorities like the Encyclopedia Britannica. Next, nation. What is a nation? We're going to talk a lot about nations. We're going to see the French nation. We're going to speak about the British nation. We're going to speak even about the Muslim nation as it is used nowadays, which the terminology I don't like, and you will understand, inshallah, why. Now, nation. How is nation defined? Nation used to be a political unity until the 18th century. In Europe, for example, it used to define a specific group of people who identified themselves with a common background, lived in the same fiefdom, had the common religion, and so on. Up to the 18th century. What happened after that? 1789, the French Revolution. After that, the idea of nation became the idea of the state itself. So now, anybody being within the French nation is part of this nation, is part of the state. So nation in that way does not mean the same as we, as Muslims, in the Arabic term Ummah we use. We use the word Ummah, but it's not exactly the same. And we will try to understand what it actually means, inshallah. That's why I say it is very, very important. Once we look into these definitions, we have to understand what they actually mean. So, ethnic group, nation, the European and the Western understanding of nation. Next, minority, a very important term, because we will obviously use the term minority very often, seeing that we have Muslim minorities all over the world. What is a minority? Now, according again to the definition, a culturally, ethnically, or racially distinct group living within a larger society, which does not necessarily mean that the number is small. Like if we look in South Africa, for example, into South Africa used to be a society ruled by a minority group. White people, white South Africans, who were actually ruling over the black majority. But it's not the majority that had a power in that case, but it was the minority in that case. So minority doesn't necessarily mean it's the number just of people and the power has nothing to do with it. No, a minority might also have power. And in the case of South Africa, as we saw, it is a typical case for the minority ruling, being the ruling class. Integration, assimilation. Two massive words, two parts of vocabulary which is important to know, because nowadays in the West, people talk about they have to integrate. Some say they have to assimilate. But what exactly do these words mean? What does it actually mean if I talk about integration, if I talk about assimilation? We have to distinguish between these two. It is not the same. They are used as the same common terms, but they are not. Integration, again, and I quote, the bringing into equal membership of a common society those groups or persons previously discriminated against on racial or cultural grounds. This is a quote, again. So, the bringing into equal membership of a common society those groups or persons previously discriminated against on racial or cultural grounds. That's according to the Oxford English Dictionary. Integration, again, assimilation. Assimilation would not be the same as many people believe, as they make us also believe. Living in a Western society, we talk about integration, meaning let the Muslims become part of this European society. Let immigrants become part of the majority society. Integration. Now, assimilation does not exactly mean this. Assimilation comes from the Latin root assimilare, which means to make similar, to make equal, to make the same. Now, equality, equal itself is obviously a good thing, but what does it actually mean? To make similar or alike, to cause to resemble, to alter by the process of assimilation, to absorb into the cultural tradition of a population or group, to become of the same substance, become absorbed or incorporated into the system. What exactly does this mean now? If we contrast it to integration, integration means you become a part of society. Assimilation means you become the society itself. So you are not only just a part of it, but you play a massive role in it, and you look alike, you look like everybody else in there. There is no distinctive element on you. You might be part of the society and play an important role, but there is no distinctive element. There is nothing that makes you different to all the others. You don't come out of the society. You are not unique in that way. Don't we want to be unique? I mean, unique in a positive way. Of course, in a positive way. Now, assimilation, integration, two totally different words. We all want to be integrated in a society. We all want to play an important role, and of course be part of a society, of the majority society, but we don't want to be assimilated. The United States, for example, is a typical example for assimilation. People come into the US, they become Americans. They're supposed to become Americans, but what does it mean to become an American? What exactly is the definition of an American? A very difficult question. I'm not going to answer it here now. simply because there is actually no clear answer. But what they want you to become would be the majority idea of American society, being a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Now, not everybody can become white. Not everybody can become Anglo-Saxon, and not everybody can be Protestant. So in that case, even if you try, you will never be a WASP. So assimilation is an idea which actually people would like to have in their society, certain people. In the case of the US, in the case of France, a very typical example for Europe, France is an assimilationist society, meaning it's a society which likes to attract people into their culture, make them French. They would love immigrants to speak French. They would love immigrants to behave like French people according to the majority idea of people. Now, that means that automatically makes Muslims outcasts in the society because they don't behave like the average French people, like the average American people, like the average British people. So, in that case, we have to distinguish between these two terms, very important terms, integration, assimilation, and we will use them many times, very often throughout this series, inshallah. The last and most important term now still, for us Muslims, is the term Ummah. What does Ummah actually mean? What does it mean? Does it mean nation? Does it mean ethnic group? Does it mean a group? What exactly does it mean? Now, if we look back at the Islamic definition of Ummah, and I'm not going into the term Ummah as an Arabic term, but I'm going to the term Ummah as the Islamic definition of Ummah, what exactly does Ummah mean? It's a Muslim nation, and now be careful with the word that I use. We don't have the opportunity to use another term, but nation is unfortunately not the right term here. But I will still use the term nation to identify the group of people who identify themselves as Muslims, and it includes all the Muslim states in the whole world. Okay? That means, basically, an Albanian from Europe, a Pakistani from Asia, a South African from Africa, an American, all these people, from the moment that they are Muslims and they are part of the Muslim Ummah, that means basically that from that moment on, they belong to this nation. Again, careful with the word nation. I'm using it now simply to make you understand. I hope you understand that better. Basically, the Islamic term Ummah does not go according to ethnic background as the term nation goes. It goes simply according to your understanding of you being a Muslim or not, being a part of the Islamic Ummah or not. Now, at this moment we're going to have a small break, and I hope to see you after the break, inshallah.
We are the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah.
Welcome to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. This season of Tech Talk, we will focus specifically on the internet.
A student would type their paper, and instead of handing me a hard copy of their paper, they would upload it to this learning system, this e-learning system.
I have some great experience when it comes to technology, and in particular, internet technology. Call to action is something that we do in our day-to-day lives, and maybe we don't realize it. Now we want to discuss, after you have a product and you have a website and you have a way to communicate with your customers, which would be your email marketing system, now it's time to take the money from the customer.
Yeah, the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back after the break. Now, we had quite a difficult first part discussing some definitions which are extremely important, and we will see in the long run they will be very beneficial for us, inshallah. We finished at the important term Ummah. Now, the Arabic term Ummah, which Islamically has a very, very significant importance in our life as Muslims. We have to understand that we are all Muslims. Anywhere in the world, we are part of this Ummah. Even if sometimes nowadays we might not feel it, unfortunately. We might not have this feeling when you go as an Arab Muslim, you go to Australia. There is not, as we would hope to encounter this warmth of the Muslims, to be accepted by the Muslims directly. Unfortunately, but I still believe, wherever you go as a Muslim nowadays, I still believe that if you go to the Muslims of that particular place who don't know you, they will, simply because of the daily practices of 5 salah a day, 5 salawat, 5 prayers a day. This alone, if you go to the specific place of prayer, if you go to the mosque in this specific place, I'm sure these people will not just ignore you. So, mashallah, there is still, this feeling is there. This feeling, this little part, important part of being, playing a role in this Ummah is there. That we are important, that we are an important factor of this Ummah. So, being part of the Ummah, it does not stop at boundaries. It has nothing to do with nationality. It has nothing to do with belief in a particular thing, except Islam, of course. It has nothing to do with color of your skin, and it has nothing to do with your language. We even have, within this Ummah, a common language. Our common language, what is it? Well, it's Arabic. Arabic, in our worship, in our daily worship, we use this language. Arabic, mashallah, is our common language as a Muslim. Now, that does not take away that, of course, we do speak our languages. Of course, we do speak at home our mother tongues. There is nothing wrong with that. We do have even our own cultures, understanding of the world. But one thing that unites us as Muslims, wherever you are, is the one belief in Tawheed, the one belief in Allah, the one and most important practice on a daily basis. And of course, one of the most important things practically, of course, every day is your prayer. Your 5 days daily salawat. So basically what it means, we have to understand, we have to see that the term Ummah means much more than nation. Although it's used in English, because there is no other term for it, it's used in English to mean Ummah. Now, the point of this being a part of this specific Ummah, this specific group nation, does not again mean that we all speak the same language. It does not mean that we all look alike. It does not mean that we all have the same color. It does not mean many things, but it does mean that we all bow down to Allah. Okay? So within Islam, within this unity, we have diversity. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. It's absolutely amazing that you see an Arab, you see an American, you see a Greek, you see an Italian, bowing down in front of Allah the same way like all of these people do together, because they believe in the same Creator. Okay, and we're all created, like obviously we're created by the same Creator. So obviously we bow down in front of the same Creator in the same way, all of us. I would like to look into 3 specific groups of Muslim. A Muslim is, of course, somebody, as defined by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to a hadith, somebody who, of course, follows the 5 pillars of Islam. But we have to see nowadays that, unfortunately, we do have, if we want to distinguish 3 groups or 3 categories of Muslims, if you want to call it that way, there is a specific type of Muslim who is not organized in a form of going to his daily prayer, going to the masjid, having daily contact with Muslims, dealing with the Ummah as part of it. That's one type. The second type is the type of person who basically goes to the mosque once in a while, maybe even every day, has contact with his Muslim neighbors or non-Muslim neighbors, but there is a contact with the Muslims around him. And the last one is the type of, again, a word that I would not like to use, but a missionary activity. Let's say a da'i. We use the Arabic word da'i. Now basically somebody who wants to spread who has the zeal to spread this beautiful deen. So there is a difference in people, the way they practice their Islam, the way that they feel being part of the Ummah. Or sometimes, unfortunately, even, there are some who don't feel they're part of the Ummah, unfortunately, which is a lack of knowledge, of course. People do not know their deen that well. We are not going to talk so much about numbers, simply because there is no specific analysis, there is no clear data about how many Muslims are there in the world. Do we know that? Impossible to say. Impossible. There are so many reverts nowadays who are not classified as Muslims. In many countries in Europe, you're not even asked for your religion, for your religious affiliation. So basically, there is no need for you to declare that you're a Muslim, which means you are not, in the statistics, you're not a Muslim. So talking about numbers is not that important at this moment. But what is important is the fact that the Muslim presence in the West has gained so much significance during the past few years that we have to mention the rise of the numbers of Muslims in the West, in specifically Europe, West as well as East Europe, South Europe, but also in North America and in South America. We will mention these parts of the world, and we will mention also the way that Islam spread in these parts of the world, and we will come across amazing facts. For example, I don't know if you knew that in Australia, basically, there were Muslims long before the first Christian settlers from Britain went to settle in Australia. This was even 200 years before Captain Cook arrived in Australia, 1770, before that. It's an amazing situation if you read about Muslims in Australia. In North America, there was contact to the Muslims already long before Columbus arrived in North America or in America, on the Caribbean. And there is so much that we still don't know. And the little bit that we know can make us proud. We should be proud of that, because it's amazing to find Islamic history in parts of the world where nobody would have ever imagined. South America, North America, in certain parts of Asia, in Europe. If we're going to look into some of these communities in certain parts of the world, like the indigenous communities of Muslims in the Balkan countries like Bosnia, Albania, Macedonia, Kosovo, if we're looking into these parts, if we're looking into these countries, we will see that in certain countries, the majority, like in Albania, 70% of people in Albania officially declare being Muslims. Now, they might not have the knowledge of Islam as we expected from a Muslim, but still it doesn't take it away that they are part of the Ummah. And they're Europeans. They are white, blonde Europeans. And many people were surprised. I remember a story of one of the sisters who told me in America, when they first saw one of the refugees coming over from Kosovo and from the Balkan area during the war, they were surprised to see white Muslims. They thought that every Muslim was black. And this is a misconception within American society. The same as my society, my people in Greece think that every Muslim is a Turk. The same as in France, everybody thinks that every Muslim is an Arab. And so on and so on, we can go on like this. So they're nationalizing our deen. They're nationalizing our groups. Our group, actually our one and only group, okay, our Ummah. They're nationalizing it. They're making you an Arab, they're making you a Turk, they're making you whatever they think that would be fitting to their understanding of the world. And we want to get away from that. So, if we're going to look into the countries that I mentioned before, important big countries which used to have a massive empire, like France, like Britain, like even Holland, the Netherlands, which Indonesia used to be part of the Netherlands, the biggest Muslim nation in the world, we will find amazing facts. And inshallah, we will talk further, inshallah, about these amazing facts, this amazing journey we're going to take, inshallah, very soon in the next episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to welcome you soon back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
We are the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah. Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam. Every difficulty faced in our life makes us realize that it's just part of Allah's plan. Feeling stronger, we take it in our stride. We are the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah. Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam. Every difficulty faced in our life